Greetings, people of the galaxy. I am Zach, and I'm back again for another tier list video. This time we're going to be ranking all of the Star Wars movies and television shows that exist today, or at least as of 2019 when this list was made, but it's the same as today, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on into it. So we're going to start with The Phantom Menace, which I'm going to place in C tier. It's definitely one of the weaker Star Wars movies. There's a lot of issues with it. I do still enjoy watching it. I don't hate this movie by any means. I just think that there are several more Star Wars movies that I would rather watch than this one. So Attack of the Clones is also going to join Phantom Menace in C tier. It's a very deeply flawed movie. I don't enjoy the Anakin and Padme arc. I might even prefer the Phantom Menace to this movie. It's just kind of all over the place. It's not as bad as I thought it was because I did rewatch it recently. It's probably my least favorite prequel movie. And my favorite prequel movie, Revenge of the Sith, I'm gonna put an S tier. Depending on the day, it's my second favorite Star Wars movie. Sometimes my third. And this movie is essentially the Empire Strikes Back of the prequel trilogy. It's the one that is like widely regarded as the best. There's so many lightsaber duels. Anakin's descent into darkness is awesome. Palpatine is great. Obi-Wan continues to be fantastic. This movie has it all. And aside from like some pacing issues, I think it has towards like the middle part of the movie, it's a fantastic movie, and I could watch this every day and never get bored. A New Hope, I'm gonna put an A tier. While it's probably the most important Star Wars movie because it's the first one, I do think it's a little slow, and whenever I show this movie to people who haven't seen Star Wars, they tend not to like it. They tend to think it's kind of boring, so I usually start with Rogue One if I'm gonna start showing people Star Wars, because that's a more action-packed, exciting movie, and then you kind of like hook them in with Rogue One and then watch the original trilogy. You know what I mean? But it's slower. It's not as engaging, but it's a classic. I do love this movie. I think it's a great example of how to write a movie, and it's always going to have a special place in my heart, and it's going to be an A tier. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. We really get to explore the character of Darth Vader some more. He's not just this evil masked villain as he was in A New Hope. We get more in-depth look into the Force and how Yoda trains Luke, and Han and Leia's relationship, and we get introduced to Lando, and all the planets are cool. Bespin, Hoth, Dagobah, they're iconic, and this movie just did so much for Star Wars. It was the darkest of the three original trilogy movies, and I love dark movies. Yeah, it's not an unpopular opinion that this is the best Star Wars movie. It's kind of widely regarded as such, and I agree with that. Return of the Jedi, I'm gonna put in B tier. This one doesn't resonate as much with me. As soon as they get to Endor, the movie kind of goes downhill for me. I don't care that much about the Ewoks, and I really only care about the throne room scene with Darth Vader, Luke, and the Emperor. That's the most interesting part of the third act for me. Everything else just feels like it's biding time, and I just really always want to get back to the throne room scene. So while I do enjoy this movie, like I really like the opening, it's just the whole middle portion and then most of the end I don't care about. Yeah, it just feels like they didn't have much for the other characters besides Luke to do, since like Han Solo kind of completed his development in The Empire Strikes Back. Same with Leia, and literally Luke and Vader are the only characters who have anything to do in this movie. And so that's probably why I think it's the weakest of the three. The Force Awakens, I'm gonna put in. Well, this is tough. If I were ranking this right after I'd just seen it for the first time, I'd probably put it in B tier. But since I know that nothing that it sets up really comes to fruition, I'm gonna put it in C tier. Just super disappointing how it all turned out. Though I did enjoy the movie as it was, even though it was a bit redundant, I just can't watch it without knowing what comes after, and that just kind of ruins it for me. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. Oh, here we go. The Last Jedi, I'm putting in F tier. I just strongly disagreed with the direction that this movie took a lot of the characters, and I just thought it was really, really boring and frustrating to watch. I didn't enjoy the whole Finn and Rose arc. I thought it was a waste of time. I think the Rey and Luke scenes could have been more interesting. I did like the Rey and Kylo stuff. That was about the only thing in this movie that I liked. So for a while, The Last Jedi was my least favorite Star Wars movie until The Rise of Skywalker, and then that definitely took over the title. And while I've always said that The Last Jedi was more frustrating and it like upsets me more, I do think The Rise of Skywalker is the worst Star Wars movie because its plot is just go, go, go. You never get time to breathe. You never really get time to sit with the characters. And I think that's super important. Any Star Wars movie is to like really sit back and watch the characters develop. And there's just no time for that in The Rise of Skywalker. And it's just a mess. And I hate the way it ends. It ends just like Return of the Jedi, but worse, but without all the emotion. I think it's a terrible movie, and I never want to watch it again unless I have to. Like if I'm making a video on it for this channel or whatever, that's the only time I would ever watch it again. I would never watch this movie for fun because it exhausts me. On the 2003 Clone Wars, I'm gonna put in B tier. Um, I said this on the stream, but I think that the 2003 Clone Wars, while it's very light on plot and it's very light on character development, it is cool as hell. Like it's just fun to watch. There's a lot of cool action sequences, a lot of cool battles, and it's cool to get a little snippet of a look into the Clone Wars. We didn't really get that until Filoni's Clone Wars. So for a while there, this was the only look at the Clone Wars that we really had, and I was grateful for that, and I can't wait for it to get put on Disney Plus in April. Resistance, I never actually watched because I heard it was so bad and it looked bad. And so I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but when the cover looks really dumb and when people who have read the book say it's really dumb, it's probably really dumb. So I'm going to put it in F tier because that's just what I've heard. From what I've heard, that's where it should be. If you want to get mad at me and say that I shouldn't rank it because I haven't seen it, that's fine. Then just effectively take this off the list. So at first I thought this was just the Clone Wars movie, but it doesn't seem like they have that separate from the show. So this is just all the Clone Wars. And I think the Clone Wars is amazing, but I also think there's a lot of it that is less than stellar. So it's mostly good, but it's not as good. I don't think it belongs in S tier. I think it belongs in A tier because it does so much for the prequels. It fleshes out the character of Anakin. It develops him. It makes his turn to the dark side more understandable and more tragic. And it also gets to explore characters that didn't get a lot of screen time in the prequels, like Kit Fisto, Plo Koon. We get more Padme. It introduces us to Ahsoka, who becomes one of the most beloved characters in Star Wars. And it definitely deserves its place in A tier for that. Star Wars Rebels is an interesting case. I think it suffers similarly to the Clone Wars in that it has some fantastic moments, but it also has some really bad moments. And I think it's not as good as the Clone Wars, clearly, but I do enjoy the show a lot. I think like it has some. I would argue some of its moments are better than most anything the Clone Wars has, like Twilight of the Apprentice, Twin Sons. It's fantastic, but you have to acknowledge that those moments were built on the back of the Clone Wars. So I'm gonna put Rebels in upper B tier. This show will always have a special place in my heart. I love Star Wars Rebels. It's just not quite as good as the Clone Wars. The Mandalorian, I'm gonna also slide into B tier, and that we've only gotten 2 seasons of it, and I enjoyed the first season. I thought it was solid, and the second season was really good, and so I hope the third season can improve upon those two. But this is basically the one show or movie on this list that is subject to change. It could go higher, it could go lower, depending on what's to come. But for now, I'm gonna put it in upper B tier. I initially liked Rogue One a lot, but I feel like with every time I rewatch it, I like it a little less, and I just don't care for the first half of the movie that much. The characters don't interest me that much. I'm not super invested in the movie until they go to Scarif, and then once they go to Scarif, it's a fantastic movie. Some of the best Star Wars we've ever seen on the big screen, I think. Love the Darth Vader hallway scene. Krennic is a underrated villain. I think he's great. and I'm gonna put it in B tier, probably alongside Return of the Jedi. Um, and for the last movie is Solo, a movie that I really didn't think needed to be made. Probably the only Star Wars movie that's actually lost money or broken even or didn't make money basically. And I'm gonna put it in like probably low C tier, just because it's meh. It's the most meh Star Wars movie around. Uh, it's enjoyable. I just would literally rather, according to my list, watch every Star Wars movie but The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker over it. So I'm gonna put it in the bottom of C tier, and that seems to be my list. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. How does your list look? And do you agree with mine? Thank you so much for watching, folks. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm Zach, and I'll see you in the future.